So we've seen how the data automatically updates, but what about how does the user set that data? So how does the user manage to change the contents of those variables? So let's go back now to the demonstration I've used here for the just the showing of data. What about let's kind of add also an input box and a button. So just to kind of put in there input type equals text. So this is going to be in pure JavaScript. So sort of jQuery name equals my text, and also make ID equals my text. Okay, and then I'll end the input, and then I'll put a button, and I'll say something like mirror text or something like that in the button, and then I will, as a concept, after that, I'll need to now put a sort of something to handle somebody clicking on the button and then changing the contents of a different div. So I'll create another div here, div ID equals replay text or something like that. Okay, and I'll just make this one background color. Oh, sorry. Style equals background color red. Okay, we'll just do that just to make it clear that I'm putting it into this div here. So replay text. So if I want to do that, then I'll into the document ready, I'm going to put a button function. So put there dollar for all buttons. If you click it, I'm then going to say dollar open bracket quote hash replay text dot text, and inside the text I'm going to put whatever has been typed into the text box, and its name is my text. So I'm just going to type in dollar open bracket single quote hash my text, and then dot val. Okay, so we're getting the value out of the text box and putting it into the div here, replay text. And just I've noticed I've got a problem there. I think I just need another of these after my the end of the click function. Okay, and I save that now. So if I now display that, so here is now the a.html, and I can now type in some text, and I click mirror text, and some text appears in a red background. Okay, so that's a kind of very basic, simple piece of JavaScript. Although, as you see, it's slightly cumbersome. If I go back now to the coding in Visual Studio, wrong one, hang on a second, here it is. I've had to extract the text out of the text box, and then I have to kind of like get that out and put it into this replay text div, which is here. Okay, so that's how you do it in ordinary JavaScript. If you do it in Angular, what you need to do is create an ng model directive, and so this is now where you really get into the model view controller kind of architecture. So if I now go back into here, let's now imagine we're going to be putting in a text box, and we're going to be essentially updating a variable. Let's imagine it's this. Go here. We're going to create into the app component. We've already got two variables. Let's create a third variable called inputted text and colon string. Okay, something like that. So we're just basically declaring a variable, not giving it any value of any kind, etc. Now, what we have to do then is somehow put in a text box which has an association with this inputted text string. So if I go to the component.html, let's kind of at the very top, let's again put a single box kind of thing, input type equals text. Let's give it a name equals my text, although this is kind of not really necessary in Angular there. But then importantly at this point we need it's associated. We want to say, well, what is the variable with which this input box is kind of always associated with? And the term you use to do that is a thing called ngModel. So open square brackets, open ordinary brackets, ngModel. Okay, and then you say, okay, so which variable is this text box going to be setting? Now remember, we created a variable called inputted text. So I'm going to put inputted text. Okay, so this is the variable here, which is that's the name of the variable, and this is the reality of the variable is here, inputted text string, which is in our class app component, of which the HTML represents, if you like, the visible body, if you like. However, before this can work, we have to add a few things to our app module. Okay, because we're actually using this ngModel, there is a thing that needs to be added to our whole module, and that is the forms module. So, okay, so I'll go to appmodule.ts. You've got these various things like browser and ngModule. We're going to add a third one here called forms. So import open squiggly bracket forms module. Import forms module from, and this is a built-in Angular one, so at Angular /forms. Okay, and the moment that we've got the right thing down, it kind of, as it goes grey because it's not yet used. Okay, so in addition to that, we have to add it to these imports. These are the things that the application needs to be aware of in order to function. So I'm going to put in a forms module, comma here. So this is import is basically an array of various modules that need to be added to this project. Okay, so having done that, those are the two things we desperately need in order to be able to use these various variables here. And so we've got there inputted text, name equals my text. Now the nice thing about this is kind of, whereas in the previous example we had to press a button, okay, and to actually force it, with Angular we don't even need to press a button. We could just say, we just create another div somewhere which will be automatically copying whatever is ever put into inputted text. So if I do that, I say div, okay, and I'll just say another style equals background color. Let's just do another different color, bisque, whatever that is, and but in there we'll put in double kind of squiggly bracket, but this time inputted text. Okay, so double squiggly bracket, inputted text, and I'm going to save that now. Okay, and it says it's compiled successfully. Sometimes this doesn't always work when I try this out. So now what I'm hoping is that whatever I type in the text box will automatically appear without me having to do anything inside this div. Okay, so let's go now back to here, Varsho. Oh, and I've done something wrong here. Can't bind to ngModel since it is an unknown property of input. I would imagine I haven't saved something. Let me just go back and check. Yeah, and I haven't saved two things, so I'm going to save all at this point. Okay, and now let's kind of try it again. Okay, so now let's say this is my text, and notice it's automatically updating without me having to do anything, not having to putting any on-change function, on-change sort of function or anything, or method to listen to me doing different stuff in the text here. Okay, whatever I type will automatically be there because this is kind of like is associated by the ngModel directive to the variable inputted text, and this with the double brackets basically binds to that inputted text in a read-only way. So as you see now, this makes in a way the task of showing variables much easier, although you do have to kind of get your head around it a bit because it's a different way of doing stuff than you would do normally in jQuery or in any kind of just pure HTML and JavaScript.